Hey, remember how I said I was going to watch some good movies? Well, I did end up watching two movies that were pretty good, and then a third one that was really not good. It hurt me so personally. It's like it came to my house with like a big bat and then just kind of beat me for like 2 hours, and it was not a good experience. So I'm going to talk about The Innocents, Yip Man, and a big old pile of trash. Enjoy. The next movie is The Innocents. This is a 2016 French movie starring Lou Delarge. It's my second one to her. She's the whole reason I wanted to watch it. I loved her so much in Breathe that I wanted to check out one of her other movies, and this one's pretty good. The premise is based on a true story about this French doctor who was working for the Red Cross during World War II and is stationed in Poland. And while there, she comes across a group of nuns who 9 months ago got raped by a bunch of Soviet soldiers. And so now they're all pregnant and terrified. It's another one of those movies where it's about an aspect of the war you never think about, just like all those side stories, and it's really good and really powerful. Lou did a really solid job, and really it was a good, enjoyable movie. I do have a couple complaints though. It covers a very dark subject matter, but I feel like they almost didn't go dark enough. Like obviously I don't need to see the rapes or anything, but it just kind of felt just a bit too light. And then also it is a slow movie, which I don't mind in general, but just felt just slightly too slow for me. And then my other complaint is kind of a lighter complaint. So basically it felt like there were 3 nuns. There's dozens of nuns, but it felt like there were just 3 because there was the old nun who was in charge of everything, and then there was the really skinny nun who did most of the talking, and then there was just the rest of the nuns. They looked so identical, they were interchangeable. They were just beautiful young white women. They were impossible to distinguish from each other. But like, you needed to because they all had different personalities and desires and stuff. And so it was just like, when coming back to the same nun, I don't know if it is the same nun as before, if like this character is growing, or if there's lots of them that kind of feel the same way, or what's going on. So it was hard to follow that part of the storyline. I don't really know how you could fix it, because all the nuns are supposed to, look pretty similar. You just see just this part of their face. Even with that, it's still a really good movie. If you're interested in World War II, especially ones that don't have to deal with, combat and stuff, the more human side of World War II, it's definitely worth checking out. And it's half in French and it's half in Polish. The next movie is Yip Man. This is a 2008 Hong Kong/Chinese movie, kung fu movie. And the premise is it's based on the master of Bruce Lee, so the greatest fighter's master. And it's pretty good. It's set during World War II, another World War II movie. That was unintentional. It's basically about him just trying to live his life, but Japanese soldiers are occupying China right now, so they're getting harassed a lot. And since he's like, the big tough guy, everyone wants to beat him. Lots of Japanese people want to come and beat him. And that causes problems. The movie was pretty great. All of the kung fu stuff, all of the martial arts was wonderful. That was masterful, and they filmed it in such a way that you could see all of the action and stuff too, which I really appreciated. You could definitely tell that everyone involved is very, very skilled. The story itself was pretty light, and that's kind of what took it down some points for me. And then also it felt similar to The Hero and also Rocky IV, and how it's kind of just propaganda a little bit, Chinese propaganda. Because he is a real person who did these things. But there's one part in the movie where the Japanese soldier asks him, "What's your name?" And he's just like, "I'm a Chinese citizen, that's who I am." And so it's just kind of clear that Yip Man is meant to just represent all of China and how they were able to beat back Japan with their mighty fists in World War II. And even though, Japan had all the technology and stuff or whatever, China was able to fight back real hard. They won in the end. So, it's true, that is what happened. But it just feels a bit like propaganda. It is still enjoyable, it is still great. It spawned a whole bunch of sequels. I don't know if I'm going to watch any of the other sequels, but it's good. This one's good at least. If you're in the mood for some good martial arts kung fu action, you've probably already seen this movie, but it's still good and still really worth checking out if you haven't. But yeah, this one was definitely solid. And lastly is The Housemaid. This is a 2016 Vietnamese movie, not to be confused with the 1960s Korean movie that's supposed to be one of the top 3 best Korean movies ever. Who would ever dare mix up those two movies? So the basic premise of this trash is, it's set, I think, around 100 years ago. I didn't bother looking it up again. I forget. And it's about this woman who, her village got bombed, so she went to find a job at this mansion, this French plantation, and she gets a job there, and lots of spooky stuff happens, except none of it's spooky or scary or creepy. It's just dumb. It's just all jump scares, and it's boring. And then there's a twist at the end, and I'm going to spoil part of it, where you find out that some of that stuff is actually BS, and things weren't as spooky as they seemed. And it's like, well then why? There were so many scenes that didn't make any sense then. Why? Just why? It's... To be fair, I do like a lot of the basic ideas there. I think there is definitely a story in there worth telling. It may be based on a true story, I don't know, I don't really care. But just the execution of it was so poorly done. It was, And also what really threw me off is, so it's a Vietnamese movie, so I'm expecting them to speak in Vietnamese. But then half of the movie is spoken in English, which would have been fine, except it was spoken by all the French people. Why are French people speaking English in Vietnam? Like, there could be some historical merit to that. Again, I don't want to do research, but it doesn't feel like the French people should be speaking English. That just doesn't make sense to me. But then, like, the main French guy, the actor is actually from France, but, like, his English accent doesn't sound French. I really thought they cast a non-French actor to play this French character. But yeah, the movie was weird and dumb, and I don't like it. I looked into it later and got mixed reviews, so I shouldn't have really been surprised that it wasn't good. But again, I meant to watch this movie, not this movie. To give myself credit, with the original Korean movie that I thought this was, there is a remake of that from 2010. So I was just not paying attention. It's just my fault. It's my own fault, and I feel bad and dumb, and it was a mistake. But whatever. It's done, it happened. I can move past it and watch better things now, maybe, hopefully. I hope so. I don't want to watch any more bad movies for a while. Alrighty, for today's final rankings, we have The Innocents sitting at number 10 in the Quite Like section, and then right behind it is Yip Man at number 11, also in the Quite Like section. They're both at the top end of Quite Liked. I couldn't quite push them into the really like. They were on that edge, but I needed a little bit more to push them the rest of the way up. They're still really good. I just didn't really like them. And then bringing up the rear is The Housemaid, sitting at number 26 on a total of 30 movies. Alright, that's all I have for today. Like always, if you want to recommend movies to me, I am always up for that, good or bad. If you do recommend a bad movie, if I can find it, I will watch it. I'll potentially hate you afterwards, but that's on your conscience if you want to hurt me. I'll take it, but you suck, potentially. Or you're awesome. If you introduce a great movie to me, I'll love you so much. But if you introduce a bad movie to me, I will definitely hate you. There's no questions there. I have a list.